So now we're going to tackle the reset button, and I've already added the code that will create the reset button. I haven't wired it up yet, so here we're just creating the control, adding it to the FC controls collection, calling it BTN reset, and then moving it into position. Alright, so here it is. Obviously it's not functioning yet. Here's how we want it to function. Okay, watch closely. When I click this reset button, you can see the whole form, or the whole window is kind of rebuilt, right? It's cleared out and rebuilt. There's a split second where everything's wiped clean and then quickly reconstructed. It's too quick for us to see it, but it's happening. So that's what we'll do. Now, the thing is, to reconstruct the window, basically we want to run all of this code again. This is the code that builds our window, basically populates the arrays, moves the images into position, and so on, and of course creates the button as well. So this whole thing here is going to have to execute again when we're rebuilding the window. So when you have a scrap of code or a chunk of code that is going to be executed again and again, not in a loop. Okay, a loop is definitely going to be repeated X amount of times. That's not what we want here. We want, on the user's whims, when the user clicks that reset button, the window will be rebuilt and this code will execute again. It may happen once during the program, it may happen 10 times during the program, but it could happen. So when you have a code that's going to be repeated from time to time, not necessarily definitely repeated, in which case you would use a loop, but in this case we'll put it into a sub. So when you have code that's going to be repeated, you don't want to have to keep typing that code over and over again. That's redundant, so we'll put it in a sub. And why don't we call this sub build window? Okay, so I sandwich that whole thing into a sub. Okay, there's the top of the sandwich, and then there's the bottom of the sandwich. In between, we have the code that builds our window. Alright, now, let me run this program. There's a problem. When I run the program, I just get a blank window. The thing is, when you put code into a sub, in order for that code to execute, you have to call the sub. The code within the sub is not going to explicitly execute. You have to call it, and by call it I mean, hey you, run your code. So we'll call the sub. Look, the little telephone means we're calling the sub. So when the program begins, the build window sub is called, and the window is built. Okay, so now we want to worry about the reset button, and basically what happens is when the user clicks the reset button, we want to execute the build window. We want to rebuild the window, right, or execute this code once again. So really we just have to wire up the button to this particular sub. So we can FC controls, register mouse down event. We are wiring up the BTN reset, and we are hooking it up to the build window sub. Okay. Oh, and also we need to wipe the slate clean and rebuild from scratch. You don't want to leave all the garbage there. For example, okay, I hit reset. It seems like it worked fine, but you can see it's starting. You can see the residual garbage behind the scenes here. Those images that were not cleared out are going to linger, and the alignment is maybe a little different, and so it's best to just wipe it clean completely. So that's what we can do, and that's easy to do. We just say graphics window dot clear, and that clears out everything. go. Perfect every time.